Like to call to order tonight's work session, public work session for Tipton Community School Corporation. Tonight we have, you're gonna have to say your name for me again, Arash? Okay, all right, with Virgie. Thank you so much for coming, and here you have a presentation for us. Would you be willing to step to the microphone so then we're gonna be live streaming it?
I'm gonna pop your presentation up here. It's coding.
Come here.
Yay.
Cool. Well, since this is the first time a lot of us are meeting, I'm just going to start by just doing a short introduction on myself. My name's Arash Habibi Sureh, born and raised in Indianapolis, graduated Lawrence Central, the northeast side of the city. And then I went to Purdue University and got my bachelor's and master's in chemical engineering with a focus in energy systems. So been in the energy industry ever since. And me and my wife, Emily, we live in Westfield currently with our basset hound, Carl. So So yeah, I'm just gonna do a real quick overview of just Vergy, what we do, and then I know you guys have specific questions as to the solar field that you guys did back, I think 6 years ago now. So next slide. So Vergy, we're an energy services company with a national footprint. Um, we do private and public sector work, but the main bulwark of our projects are public K-12 schools, and that's really been our specialization. And with working with public schools, the number one goals they typically have is, they want to improve their operational fund and address infrastructure improvements. And as the state imposes tax levy caps. The escalation of energy in Indiana has been typically 3-5%. Historically, now it's like 8 to 10%. And then on top of that, you have, the inflation on just anything else. And that really just stresses your operational fund. And unlike cities and corporations where you could just increase your sales or increase taxes to recoup those costs, schools really don't have that benefit unless they want to do a referendum. So that's why working with our clients, a real successful strategy that's been implemented in the past is to do an energy project through a guaranteed energy savings contract, which is what you guys did back in 2018, and just being real strategic and mindful of your tax dollars and your debt and trying to do good and put those dollars back in the classroom. So next slide. Just a quick overview of what we do. So we have an expertise in anything utility and energy related. We're famous for solar and batteries, but we do building automation controls, LED lighting, water, building envelope, anything that involves the utility spend, we have a solution for. And I'd like to point out that we're also vendor agnostic, contractor agnostic, technology agnostic. So whatever strategy that you guys want to implement and come up with, we can absolutely do that. Next slide, please. Here's a quick snapshot of just our solar experience in the state. Our biggest claim to fame was the solar project at the Indianapolis International Airport, 25 megawatts. I think, wow, that project's like 12, 13 years ago now. Really put us on the map, and we've been taking that same mindfulness and been applying it to our other mush market clients as well, helping them save money. Okay, to why we're here today. So the solar project at Tipton. So at the time, the goals don't change. So first goal is to wisely and strategically use taxpayer money to keep money where it belongs, in the classroom and not at the utility company. Future-proof against escalation of energy. Our office is in Indianapolis, so we have the best data there. AES Indiana, our utility company, since 2016, energy costs have gone up 61%. So the benefit of your guys' solar project is not only are you offsetting energy, but since you're producing your own energy, you're not seeing the escalation that you're going to see in the future. So that's what we mean by future proofing. Be an economic and environmental leader in the community and provide solutions to surmount financial burdens like tax levy caps and improve your operational fund. Next slide. And these are actual photos of the site, by the way. So contract details. So contract was signed, looked up the records, January 25th, 2018. So coming up on exactly 6 years. Contract value, $1,166,015. And per state statute, when you do a guaranteed energy savings contract, you got to file a state savings report with the Department of Local Government Finance every year. So as of the last filed state report, which was the period ending August 31st, 23, you guys realized savings of 458,000. Contractually, we're obligated to 342,000. So you guys are actually in the black, $116,000. And if I remember correctly from your contract, the 25-year savings that this project is expected to get is $3 million for your operational fund.
Question.
Yeah, absolutely.
Can you go back there, please?
Oh, absolutely. Sorry.
Contract value, what does that mean? Is that what it costs to build?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Just contract value through me. And then,
And that's full design, engineering, project management, procurement, full turnkey.
and not that I care if you made a profit, but that's what we paid you to design, build, and put this out there.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And then, realized savings. The word realized is throwing me out. Like,
Actual savings.
actual savings.
Yep.
Calculated based on previous bills, the market.
Yeah, great question. So on your side, there's a revenue grade meter. And it's actually accounting for every single kilowatt hour of energy you guys have produced since you guys turned the switch on.
Okay, so we weren't buying that from the grid. We were
Exactly.
producing it ourselves.
Exactly.
So you put a dollar value on each,
Mm-hmm.
and that's that.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Next slide. So take a moment just to prepare for the future. So as of November, I'm sure you guys are aware, Tipton Municipal Utilities came out to you guys, talked about a rate increase, and that impact will have a 30% increase in your utility costs, which will only impact the students and the staff at Tipton. So with the help from the school and Dr. Glaze and Don in the business office has been extremely helpful in helping us get electric and gas bills and billing square footages where we could perform an energy use index, EUI, and really what that is we're calculating how much energy per square foot your guys' schools use. And what we're going to do is benchmark that against our past projects, and then we could come up with how much you could expect to save, where the biggest culprits are, and then really come up with an energy master plan that we can share with you and hopefully implement. So since some strategies like solar, battery, and geothermal are on the table, if you guys choose to proceed with that, I just want to make a quick mention of the Inflation Reduction Act, also known as the IRA, that was signed into law August 2022. So these are federal incentives for solar, battery, and geothermal. And the cool thing about the Inflation Reduction Act was traditionally only private entities could take advantage of the tax credits and depreciation. Public entities could see no benefit, but as the passage of this law, there's this thing called direct pay, where when you do a solar, battery, geothermal project, you submit paperwork to the Treasury Department, and they'll give you a check back for that project. So the base credit is 30%. So if you have $1 million project, 30% of that, you get $300,000 check back from the government. And then on top of that 30%, there's certain adders. So there's a 10% adder if you use U.S. domestic content on your materials. That's 100% steel and 45% on the balance of systems. There's another 10% adder if you're in an energy community. And there's another 10 to 20% that you could apply for if you're in a distressed, disadvantaged community or federal tribal land. And I made the snip at the end. If you're using bond dollars or tax-exempt lease purchases, which school finances typically use tax-free money, the Treasury says you can only see 85% of whatever benefit you're going to get. So if you qualify for 40%, 85% of that is, you get 34% back as a check. So
Is it too late for us to get that because we already did it before this act
Yeah.
passed? That's what you're saying. Okay.
for the future, available for you guys. But yeah, unfortunately, it was only retroactive 1 year. So you guys were too ahead of the game, I guess. So. And that's all I had. I was going to leave the rest of the time just to keep it conversational, answer any questions you may have about Verigy or your project or anything else.
I know one of the things that we were talking about, and one of the things I shared with Arash was the kind of our 15-minute interval
Yep.
from the Tipton Municipal Utility. And again, that will help us hopefully as we're trying to, with some of our high use motors that are starting up at particular times, if there's a way that we can, try to time that out. And that's one of the things that that you will be looking at as well, and to kind of help us to get, you know, try to get those motors running when the juice is cheap.
Yes,
So,
exactly.
Yeah. And do you want to talk a little bit about how that might work exactly?
Sure. So with electric race, there's two primary charges. There's a demand charge and there's an energy charge. Are you guys familiar with the difference? Okay, so the analogy I always give is demand is how fast you drive, and then energy is how far you travel. So you could say if I traveled 100 miles per hour for an hour, it's 100 miles. It's the same as saying I traveled 10 miles per hour for 10. So at the end of the day, it's like you're using the same amount of energy, but the utility company is going to charge you more for going 100 miles per hour versus 10. So that's what the kind of strategy kind of entails is, you want to kind of be strategic on, when you turn things on, they're the most efficient as possible, and then you're only turning them on when you need to keep your demand low. So through that strategy, things are really important is like you're building automation controls, making sure your set points and your sequences are tight, everything's functioning properly with regards to your dampers and your valves, having high efficient equipment like your chillers, pumps, having VFDs on your pumps, batteries are a really big play, especially for your guys' rate where, if I remember correctly, it's like $22 a kilowatt. I have to look at the bill to see what the energy is, but we installed 9 battery projects at MSC Wayne a couple of years ago, and they have the same exact rate structure you guys have is $22 a kilowatt. And for them, it was like 3.5 cents a kilowatt hour for energy. So we installed these batteries and we set like a threshold, a demand threshold. And whenever it went above that threshold, the batteries would discharge at 23 bucks. And then when it was below the threshold, it would charge the batteries from the grid at 3.5 cents. So you're kind of like gaming the system with the utility companies, and it's all AI driven as to like when the charging discharging decisions happen throughout the day, and it's all dependent on like your building loads, which is why Dr. Glaze gave us the interval data to kind of see, based on your building's behavior, how much savings we could garner from that. So it's part of one of the strategies we're looking into.
I'm correct in saying that right now we don't have batteries on our solar field?
No.
We do not.
And so would we qualify for anything with this act if we purchased anything at this point going forward?
Yep, any solar battery geothermal qualifies for the Inflation Reduction Act.
So that's how it would benefit us. I mean, why it's on here is to say if we were to pursue and use any of your other services.
Yep.
Okay.
Besides the realized savings, as I understand it, then is there also savings, let's say in the summer on a sunny day when the school's not open, so we're not using much energy, hopefully. Are we getting credit back or selling? I don't know how that works. Selling, getting credit from the grid? Is that energy going to the grid then?
We talk about the battery or with the solar system?
The solar, what we have.
So your guys' setup is pretty unique because you guys have a utility pole and a meter out on the field. And what we worked with Tipton Municipal Utilities was all your solar energy is going through that utility pole at that meter. And basically what they're doing is they're looking to see how much energy you use during that period and then subtracting how much you produce. And then that's how much they're billing. So to answer your question, during the summer when school's not out, whatever you guys use minus whatever the solar produces, you're either going to get like a benefit or like reduced charge or a credit for that.
We could theoretically, on a given day, come out ahead.
Yeah.
And that's just all factored in to the end of the month or pay period.
Yeah. Yep.
On that note,
Oh, go for it. Yeah, go for it. Yeah.
Well, my question then would be, is this something we're at this point going to do this evaluation? Or is that what we're hearing
We're-
tonight to evaluate as a
We're
board?
we're providing Verigy with a lot of data, and then they will come back and give us a report.
Right.
Okay.
And probably have Raj come back and because I probably won't be able to do it, so I may
Like a
have to come back and
recommendation.
just kind of present and just go through some recommendations.
Yep.
And again, the batteries are quite pricey, so that may be a long term. But really what we're trying to identify mostly with this right now is just kind of a short term, what we can do here in the next 2 or 3 years
Right.
to maximize what we're using. Would that be correct?
Absolutely. Yep.
Which, I mean, I think the batteries and I think that technology is very innovative and very creative. I'd love to be able to have a plan to implement something.
That's what the whole energy master plan is we kind of want to give you guys the roadmap and you tell us what you like, what you don't like, and we just work it from there. So I can't be that good. I know you got another question.
You can put what I know about solar energy on your business card. Warranty and like, are we insuring the field or you are? Like, what if there's a hailstorm?
Mhm.
I wasn't here when this went up. Most
None of
That's
us-
really
none of us were.
Insurance wise, it'll typically, I mean, it depends on your insurance, how it's structured, but typically you guys have an umbrella policy and the umbrella policy will cover the field.
that's not. And then, what is the life expectancy of those panels?
Call them solar modules, but
Okay.
they're known as panels, yeah. So the production warranties we're getting nowadays is 30 years.
We're getting now, like, of the ones we bought. 'Cause we bought them 6 years ago.
Honestly, I would have to look for you, see what the manufacturer was, but I could get that information for you.
I just ballpark. Not a lot less than that.
Now it's 30, back then it was like 25
Okay, that's
typically.
what They have to be clean. We farm around here, right? Some of y'all down there farm. It's very dusty. I know what my car looks like. I know what my house windows look like. Is that an issue? Are they clean? Do we just let the rain do it? I
Yeah.
have
No, you're absolutely right. So there's this thing called soiling factors, which, in Arizona, they actually have a very high soiling factor because even though there's a lot of solar energy to be harvested out there, it's in the desert, it gets very dusty, and they actually have to go out and clean them like quarterly or biannually. But in Indiana, we're blessed with rain. As you know, we have a lot today, and the rain just washes off any dirt or soiling that's on the panels.
Because I've seen things where like they get covered, and then they don't work as well. But
Mhm.
that's in desert climates where they don't.
And if it's really bad, I'll come with my broom and I'll just,
Yeah.
I'll just keep it off for you. So.
Sounds good.
So we should be able to look financially and see around $90,000 in savings per year from before we had solar panels.
Yep.
I mean, have we looked at? Do we know, Brooke? Have you gone back and looked at?
I want to say we pretty much hit the target.
Mhm.
I'm not sure on that. So Eric, we'll find those reports. and share
It
those
should
with you.
be right, and
Yeah.
right. I don't expect
Yeah.
Brooke to be looking back
Yeah.
10 years at.
Yeah, there should be. We should have the report that I included with back at a couple of weeks ago. We should have that report for each year. So we'll just print that off and kind of see where we are. And I'm not exactly sure either.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
We
this
look
is
every
all,
year, though. I mean,
Yeah,
we do
yeah.
look at it.
Yeah, and this is all a little new. This is all new to me
Mhm.
too. I mean, again, just these things that I'm loving. I'm enjoying learning a little bit more about it. So.
Yeah, and the energy industry is really data driven nowadays. So I can actually pull in a production report. And you can see lifetime production, how much energy you guys have produced, and then compare that to what we guaranteed, and you would find that it's more than what we guaranteed. So, absolutely.
All right, I'll ask one more question.
Let's go, Eric.
On a day like today, does it pull any energy? Like it's so cloudy and rainy? Does it?
Actually does, but not a lot.
It's like, it's a terrible example, but my solar calculator works. It doesn't take much light. So I know like some energy is getting
Mhm.
to that. That doesn't run a school, but it doesn't have to be perfectly sunny,
Right.
but it is graded, right? Like the sunnier it is, the better they work.
Yep. And that's why you gotta look at kind of like an annual horizon because you got the different weather daily and you got the different seasons and months. So you really gotta look at it holistically, and we got data to support that if you want it. Good questions.
Thank you for this information.
Yes.
Very much.
Thank you very much.
All right.
for coming.
Are you sure you want to ask one more question? I
I'm
feel like
sure.
Okay.
If you come up with anything else, email me and I will forward that on.
We have his card too.
Yeah, I mean, he's a wealth of information, and then because we learned about this, the rate increase when we were at, was that the superintendent's
Yeah,
conference?
the IAPS.
Yeah, and so Arash got right on it, man. He was like ready to go. And so I appreciate his help and his willingness to step in and try to help us find some good solutions here.
Absolutely.
And I will say too that and you probably aren't aware of this, but they did do a graduated increase.
Yep. I saw that on the
Yeah,
letter.
which
Yep.
we appreciated and very thankful for TMU for working with us and also the city council. So again, they helped us out, but it's going to behoove us to get a better plan moving forward.
Right.
So,
Absolutely.
all right.
Well, I
Thank you.
appreciate everyone.
Thank
Thanks for
you.
the time.
Yes,
I've
thank
met
you for
all.
coming.
Sorry. Thank you. Be safe heading home.
Absolutely
Okay,
appreciate
all right.
it.
Well,
Thank you so much.
Okay, next on our agenda is just to review our regular board agenda. Do you want to discuss the literacy?
yeah.
first?
This was a little nugget of a little bit of a surprise. I'll be really honest. And this is the Early Literacy Achievement Grant. This was kind of nestled in one of the bills from the General Assembly. We really didn't know anything about it until the 1st of December, and everybody's been scrambling a bit to figure out how we need to appropriate these dollars. We are treating it very similar to how we've treated the TAG grant, the Teacher Appreciation Grants. The legislature has made it very targeted, so it can only go to teachers who have been in classrooms with kindergarten through 3rd grade. And we do have a very limited amount of time to disperse the funds, very similar to what they've done with the TAG grant. Today was a flurry of activity in superintendent world about this because there's the ISTA has thrown out some guidance on this, and which I don't know where that's going. What we've done is we really just taken it by the letter of the law. We have X amount of teachers who taught K through 3rd grade students, and we just divided among those teachers, regardless of whether they were rated effective or highly effective. They had to be rated effective or highly effective. So there's no differentiation. It's just a straight ahead math. And then what we are able to take out of that, which is what we do as well with our TAG grant, is FICA and Teacher Retirement Fund. And so I've not seen this document from ISTA. I don't know a whole lot about it. And but anyway, it's just kind of one of those little surprises that somebody came up with over break.
We didn't have to
So-
apply for this?
We did not.
Okay.
It just came.
And then 30 days from the time we received the funds. Have we received the funds?
Yes, we did.
Okay,
We
so the clock is
received-
ticking.
The clock
Yeah,
is
right.
ticking. We
How much-
received them on the 27th or 28th, and we were a little shocked because we didn't think we were going to get them until March, and suddenly we got them.
Do they just
So-
have to be allocated or do they have to be spent?
They have to be spent, and it has to be zero balance.
Can the
left.
paras get any of that money?
Well, potentially they could. And the issue comes down to, we didn't have a real good way to track that because we have pairs that are moving all the time between grade levels and all over the place. Now that we know this is a factor, we'll be able to track that a little bit better. So this year, no.
I
But
just think it's a job retention.
Yeah, oh, I agree.
Not
I
new
agree
paras get
totally.
a bonus.
I agree totally, and it's something that we will be tracking this next year because we do want to make sure that we share this with our paras because they are a great asset. But just with not having a whole lot of notice on what this is exactly, we're just trying to get it out as quickly as possible and most efficiently as possible. So that's basically it. And again, I'll keep you informed on what I'm hearing from superintendent world. But hopefully it won't get too crazy. So we'll just keep our fingers crossed.
So tonight, we're approving the allocation of those funds.
Really, what you're approving is our process and the allocation. So then what we have to do is send the resolution that you're signing to the state to show how we distribute the funds. So.
Does anyone have any other questions on that? Are there any questions about our board agenda for this evening? Okay, then we will adjourn the work session and start the regular meeting at 6:30.
Thank you, guys.
also joining us online. We'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, before we move too much further in our agenda, we'd like to take an opportunity just to hear some positive, fun, just things that you're seeing around our school corporation. And so we use the words, tell me something good. What is something that you'd like to share that you've asking that of the board?
I'd be happy to start. I'm really excited about the Tipton High School academic team that has been started. When we renegotiated the TEA contract in the fall, it was Dr. Glaze's vision to include some additional ECA stipends to incentivize teachers to lead academic teams in our building. And two of our high school teachers, Mrs. Sanquinetti and Ms. Dunn, have stepped up, and they are organizing the first academic high school, or the high school academic team that has existed. I should have probably asked Mr. Leach, but as far as I can remember, it's been a while. Those topics that they are learning about, it is a wide range from Baroque art to ballet to current public figures like Gordon Ramsay to geography. It's all over the board. Yesterday, the students met and had a competition with 4 teachers. So I'd like to thank Mr. Gosnell, Mr. Stoker, Mrs. Capshaw, and Mr. Palmer, who all competed against and had kind of a quiz bowl atmosphere for the students. The first competition is this coming Saturday at Purdue with part of the team, and then the regional quiz bowl, which will be both teams, is at McCutcheon High School on Saturday, January 20th. So very grateful to those teachers who are leading that for our students.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing, Amber.
The teachers. I heard that the teachers pretty much smoked the students, but as
That's
they
okay.
should, right?
Right.
As
You'd
they
hope
should.
so. You would hope so. Okay. Does anyone else?
We
Go ahead.
talked about it. Really amazing to watch. They down by I think 17 at one point, and they didn't give up, and it was amazing to see and watch them come together. And it got a little. It was an intense game, but at the very end, both teams came together and they did a fair circle, which was really neat to watch.
Absolutely.
And they all had great attitudes, which was neat.
Anyone else?
I did want to share one thing that I thought was great, that the Indianapolis Star picked up that news story, and I thought it was really well done, and I really thought it captured the spirit of this team, and so I'm really happy that happened, and I think that it's good that it's good for the school to get that exposure, and again, just a good bunch of young men, so that's just fantastic.
Exciting things are happening at our school. Thank you for sharing tonight. Next on our agenda are comments from the community, and we didn't have anyone sign up, so we'll move along to approving our consent agenda. We will be approving the agenda, the minutes from our public work session, regular meeting, and executive session on December 12th, the approval of claims for payroll on December 15th, December 22nd, and January 5th, and accounts payable claims on January 9th. We also will be approving the personnel report from January and approving some of our donations to the high school from FFA, Tipton Motorsports, the Robotics and Mechatronics, Academic Decathlon, Save the Art for Pride, and also the Blackbud Giving Fund, My Closet, and the Charitable Lunch Fund. I need a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda items.
Second.
Are there any questions or comments? Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, thank you. On our personnel report tonight, We don't have any certified staff. Under classified staff, we have the resignations of Tanya Carter as Deputy Treasurer of the corporation, Brenda Grubb as Corporation Bus Driver, Karen Rittberger as a cafeteria worker in the high school. We have recommendations for Brett Foster as a Special Education one-to-one paraeducator in the elementary school. For ECA staff, we have the resignations of Phil Morgan as the Social Studies PLC lead at the high school, and recommendations for Alex Red as assistant swim coach in the middle school, and Gracie Phillips as the 7th grade girls basketball coach in the middle school. Okay, at this time, the Board of Trustees will elect officers for president, vice president, and secretary for 2024. Candidates must be nominated, then seconded, and approved by a majority of the Board of School Trustees. At this time, the chair will accept nominations for board president.
Madam President, I would make a motion to renominate you for President School Board for the 24-25 school year.
Thank you. Do we have a second? Any other nominations? Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, thank you. It's a privilege to be able to serve with our school board for sure. At this time, the chair will accept nominations for board vice president.
Jennifer, I would nominate Rob Cochran to serve as the Vice President of the School Board of Trustees for the 2024 calendar year.
Do we have a second? Okay, any other nominations? Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Thank you, Rob, for serving us in this way. At this time, the chair will accept nominations for secretary.
I nominate Andrea Campbell to serve as the Secretary of the Board of Trustees for the 2024 calendar year.
Thank you. Any other nominations? Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, Andrea. Okay, next we need to approve the appointment of treasurer and executive secretary of the board. It's recommended that Brooke Cleaver be appointed as treasurer and Laura Fulton as the executive secretary of the board. We need a motion and a second to approve those.
Make a motion to appoint Brooke Cleaver as treasurer and Laura Fulton as executive secretary of the board.
Second.
Are there any questions? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Thank you, Brooke and Laura, both for serving and all that you do for our school. We truly appreciate it. Okay, next we need to approve our meeting date and time. It is recommended that we maintain our current meeting date and time of the second Tuesday of each month at 6:30 p.m., with the exception of July 16th, 2024 at 6:30 p.m. due to the 2023 Tipton County 4-H Fair schedule.
That should be 2020.
Oh, you're right. I read it
That was
exactly
my
as read.
fault.
Sorry, 2024 Tipton County 4-H Fair. Should have caught that as well. Okay, we need a motion and a second to approve those.
I move to establish the meeting date and time as spelled out by the president.
Okay, are there any questions or comments?
When we're moving it to?
That is the date that we would move it to. I think,
They were moving it to.
yeah, I think it
Okay,
would have been
sorry.
July 9th before. That's
Alright.
okay, I had the same question, so. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. All right, the board will recess from the regular business meeting for the purpose of conducting a brief Board of Finance meeting. Do I have a motion for recess?
Motion to recess for the Board of Finance meeting.
Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, tonight's meeting is in two parts. The second part is a meeting of the Board of Finance that we are required to hold annually in January. We have three functions. The first one is to elect a president and secretary, to name a depository for corporation funds, and to receive and review the investment report. So first we will do the election of officers. The Board of Finance must elect a president and secretary. President and secretary may be the same board members elected as president and secretary of the Board of Trustees. We will now open the floor for nominations for President and Secretary of the Board of Finance. Too many papers going on. Okay, the chair will accept nominations for President.
President, I would nominate yourself, Jennifer Hummerkaus, for President of the Board of Finance.
Thank you, Rob.
I second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, thank you. The chair will accept nominations for Secretary.
At this time, I nominate Andrea Campbell to serve as the Secretary of the Board of Finance.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, thank you. Okay, next is the designation of depositories. First Farmers Bank and Trust is the depository for corporation funds. We currently have checking, e-funds, which includes textbook and school lunch, sweep account, which is our savings. It is recommended that the board approve First Farmers Bank and Trust as the depository for corporation funds. I need a motion and a second to approve those. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments?
There's a comment from me, probably got the same comment as Andrea. I have a direct family member, an AVP role at the bank, so I'm going to abstain from this vote.
And I am in the same situation as Rob. I'll abstain from this vote just to perceive potential conflict of interest.
Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, are we good? We have enough
Yeah.
people? Okay. All right. Next, our review of investments. The investment report is made available to board members in the monthly financial report. This month's report for December also is the report for the end of the year. The investment earnings for 2023 were just over $400,000. Tipton Community School Corporation maintains a repurchase agreement account charge card through BMO Harris Bank. It is recommended that the board accepts the report as presented. Can I please have a motion and a second?
I move to accept the report as presented.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Okay. Next, we will present the 2024 expenditure and revenue projections. Attached are detailed projections of revenue and expenditures for 2024 as set out in our 1782 notice from the DLGF. The 2023 actual ending balances vary. Our final 1782 notice is attached, and you have all of those rates in your packet. I need a motion and a second to accept the projection, the expenditure and revenue projections.
Second.
Are there any questions or comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, thank you. And lastly, for the Board of Finance, we have the written report on the financial condition of the corporation by Dr. Ryan Glaze.
This will be riveting. All right, this is the report of financial indicators, and this is a requirement from the, it's an annual requirement essentially since when Muncie Community Schools got into their situations where they were spending money inappropriately and doing some different things like that. The state required that we do a financial indicators report, and they also established the DUAB, the distressed unit council to watch over our finances to make sure we're doing what we're supposed to be doing. And what I'm doing right now is just going over the report that is accessible using this link. This is interactive, and you can do you can take out all kinds of different accounts. You can really drill down if you want to. I'm doing the very high level of this particular report. One of the indicators is obviously ADM. So as you can see from our current ADM, we are continuing to decline ever so slightly. It's not as steep as it once was, but we do see that decline, which we are very well aware of. And so this is 22-23 data. And so this is actually the most current. Most of this comes from 2022, so it's always behind. So in actual numbers, we started out in 2022-23 with 1421, with 5 virtual, and ended up dropping to 1401 with 8 virtual, and this was last year's ADM counts. Fund balances. So this in general is just how money has been coming in and potentially going out. So you'll notice that the blue line here, capital funds, that's because we sold bonds. So that's a lot higher than what it's been. We have a negative balance in 21 because we started spending money out of those accounts that we had to put back in 22. So you'll see the negative balance there. Also, the negative balance in the green is from federal stimulus dollars. And essentially that comes from the fact that we have to pay out that money, and then the state reimburses us on the 15th of the month. So it just so happened that when we had to submit our Form 9, we were still negative in those accounts because the DOE had not reimbursed us yet. So that is the reason why that federal stimulus fund is in the negative. So just basically, this is a snapshot of what those funds are. It's the ESSER 1, ESSER 3, and ESSER 2, as well as the 3E grant, which we have with IUK. So that just kind of gives you an overall idea of how much of those funds were in the negative.
And they owe us more than we are negative.
They will owe us exactly what we are negative. So they'll just reimburse us exactly.
It's reimbursed, it's not.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And that they went through this reimbursement scenario a few years ago just to make sure that we are not keeping our title money and drawing interest off of it. So we always have to send
Send first,
them.
and then
Yeah. So that's part of that game.
Okay.
Education fund cash balances, and this is just over a period of the last few years. The numbers here are a bit of a misnomer because each of these years we were borrowing out of the rainy day fund in order to cover expenses in education fund. The last 2 years we have been without having to borrow from the rainy day fund. We've managed to build a real cash balance of 6%. Again, we'd like to see that a little bit higher, but definitely pleased that we've been able to let that grow just a little bit. Operations fund. Our operation fund balance was very high at one point. So it has reduced down a little bit, which is never a great thing, but we do still have a very healthy cash balance, much over the recommended 20%. Although it's, there's never a ton of money there, we do have a healthy cash balance. Overall cash balances, and this would include also rainy day fund, we're at about 28.6%, again, over that 20%. You'll notice that this number is higher, but our education fund has continued to grow after a few years of really good funding from the state. So even though the number did go up, the overall percentage does go down just a little bit. This is straight from the DLGF, and this is essentially the education fund. The gray line is our cash balance, our operating balance. And the yellow is either below the line or above the line. We want to be above the line, and we are above the line. And so our revenue here in the green, and then what we spent here in the blue. So we spent less than we took in, which is always good. And this red is a transfer that we would do out of the education fund into the operational fund. The operation fund, you can kind of see how this tracks a little bit. You have this revenue coming in the orange, which is the money that is coming in from the education fund transfer. And then the green is, of course, our revenue. The gray line is our cash balance. And then the blue line is how much more we spent out of the education fund or out of the operation fund than what we took in. Okay, which is why you're seeing the yellow deficit here. Okay. Rainy day fund. Again, gray line is cash balance. Blue line is what we've spent out of there, and then the negative is either, you know, if we spent money, since there's not a revenue stream for the rainy day fund, it'll always be a, you know, a blue and a yellow, essentially, money going in or money going out. And so this larger area here was this was from the greenhouse, when we had that transfer, we spent it out of operations. And so that's why that looks a little bit different than this one. Annual deficit surplus funds, debt service. So again, this is our cash balance for debt service. This is the money we have coming in. This money we have going out. And then this is the, again, the yellow line that is above. So we do have a surplus of funds that came back in 22 in the debt service. And so this is kind of overall, all of the funds. So again, a lot of money coming in, mostly due to our bond revenue. Some money going out. Cash balance is sitting here. And then whatever we've had left in surplus, just the additional funds left over here in the yellow. And the numbers are here. So our revenue with bond proceeds was about 37, or a little over 37 million. We spent about 29 million of that and had about 7 million left over throughout that whole scenario.
As we spend the bond money and bond money doesn't come in, those numbers will look different in the future, I assume.
Right. The revenue will go down because
And
we're not getting.
we'll have to pay those bills, so.
Right. Well, yes, and you know, so it will look a little different, but the revenue that's so high right now and next year will look a lot higher because we sold more bonds. So it's again, yes, what you're saying is exactly right. And then this is just our overall cash balance including all funds, and that's just straight off the DUAB website. So just kind of looking at revenue by type, this is always a very stark figure right here. The local tax revenue has stayed the same for relatively the same for a relative long period of time. Obviously, the debt revenue is where we're peaking. That's where that money's coming from. And the other revenue sources are, even though we've had, you know, a couple of okay years of state revenue, you know, again, that is creeping up. So overall, our revenue looks very positive. Most of that is inflated because of the bond sales. Questions?
Good question. We still don't know how to put money into the rainy day fund, right? That's become, isn't that what you told us?
Oh,
Like-
yeah, we can.
Oh,
Yeah.
we can.
Yeah, it's a matter of just doing an appropriation, and you just do an appropriation out of one fund into the rainy day fund.
And then how do we decide? Like, I see every once in a while I see money comes out of the rainy day fund. How do we decide? Is it just something like we didn't budget for? Is that how we use it?
It,
In the chart, it's
it-
trickling down.
you have to do an additional appropriation out of the rainy day fund. The biggest hit we took to the rainy day fund was we withdrew 500,000 out of the rainy day fund to pay for the greenhouse. So that's where the
Oh,
biggest.
not this year. Yeah.
No, that was, yeah, so that's where the biggest drop came from. We did have, a small amount that would come out, for a retirement incentive that we went for a few years ago, and we just took that directly out of the rainy day fund. But we've not been taking it out to cover our regular operating fund, balances, which is what was happening before. Yeah. All right.
Great.
That
thank
was
you.
riveting. I'm sure you're all
Thank you.
It
excited.
is interesting.
Okay.
Increasing cash balances, especially.
Okay.
It's a quorum of the members, though, isn't it? Members present. It's a quorum of the members present.
I thought that at first too.
Yeah,
Yeah, there's only five of
I
us.
think we all went through the math on that one, but it's a quorum of the members present.
Okay, well, that concludes the meeting of the Board of Finance, and we will resume our regular board meeting. You ready to talk again?
Sure.
All right.
Okay.
Move into superintendent's report.
All right. Like all I'm doing is talking. Mr. Mayor, would you mind popping up here?
That was a quick deflection. Hello, thank you guys for the invitation. Thank you, Dr. Blaze, for the invitation. As I think you guys are aware, January is a celebration of school board members. So I'm honored here to read you a proclamation thanking you all for your service as an individual who served a very brief time on the school board here at Tipton. I appreciate what you guys are challenged with, and just want to thank you guys for the improvements that have been made. Many of them not visible, but many of them are visible. And just to share, as the new mayor of the city of Tipton, I'm excited to be able to partner with the school corporation to help grow this community. So I wanted to take a moment and thank you guys for that. And as an advocate of public education, I'll continue to do at least my part, speaking with our state legislators where and when possible to advocate for our needs here at Tipton Community Schools. So to begin with the proclamation, whereas January is School Board Recognition Month and is therefore a time to celebrate the work of volunteer school board members and to celebrate public education, and whereas the foundation of our democratic society, an essential element of American democracy, is community-governed public education, and whereas publicly elected members of the Tipton Community School Corporation Board ensure that decisions on school programming, properties, and facilities represent our community's values, culture, and circumstances, and whereas the school board members of the Tipton Community School Corporation are responsible for the education of our students, the overseeing of our employees, and the annual operating budget, whereas we acknowledge Jennifer Hummerkaus, Amber Rodeball, Andrea Campbell, Susan Sloan, Rob Cochran, Jason Springer, and Eric Underwood, and have in these 7 individuals the confidence they will continue the inspired work and create a future filled with boundless possibilities for all Blue Devil students. Now, therefore, be resolved, I, Mayor Keegan Schmicker of the City of Tipton, express the appreciation, gratitude, and on behalf of the entire community, to the volunteer members of the Tipton Community School Corporation School Board for everything they do to make school and the entire community an educated and enlightened place to live. So again, I thank you all for the work that you do, sometimes and often thankless, but keep up the work to make Tipton and Tipton Community School Corporation a great place. Thank you.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
Thank you so much. And I would like to echo many of those same comments. Again, it takes such a huge amount of time to be a school board member. People out in the world don't really know the time and commitment. And I do appreciate what you guys do, and I appreciate the time commitment and the honest conversations that we have. And again, I just think that this, this is democracy at its best. I mean, this is making good decisions at a local level that affect the people that are attending our schools. And I just thank you guys for your commitment to that. And there will be some highlights in the Tribunes that'll be coming out here in the next day or so, maybe week or so, depending on which publication. And we'll also be doing some highlights on Facebook. So once again, thank you for your commitment and the time that it takes to be a great board member. Thank you.
Thank
all.
you.
This is an amazing thing. I wanted to congratulate Emerson, or she's the first female that we've had as a semi-state qualifier in girls wrestling. I just think that is something that is very incredible. And I just wanted to congratulate her. And in general, I would love to congratulate our wrestling team. They are having a good season, and there's really a nice turnaround to that program, a big commitment with our coaches and our students. And tonight is their senior night. And again, just really thrilled that we're seeing this program reemerge. And I think that it's just a wonderful testament to our community. And once again, this young lady who made the semi-state, that's just awesome. Again, like I mentioned in Tell Me Something Good, great article about the boys basketball team in the Indy Star. And I subscribed to the Indy Star, and it came up on my messages, and I'm like, that looks like Tipton, and it was. So anyway, I thought that was really great, and a super nice article, and just really once again, took on the flavor of this team and just the great work that all the coaches and all the students are doing on a daily basis, and looking forward to what the rest of the season is going to look like. I'm hoping I can get this to work because it's pretty darn cool. And maybe I don't know whether I can get that bigger. Okay, we'll have to redo that. Anyway, if you need a job done, just find a cheerleader.
There she goes, right up there. Knocks it out. Little boost.
They did a great job.
They did. I just thought that was fabulous. I would love for this to go viral because I think it's very cool. So anyway, just neat, and people that have responded to this post, it's just been hilarious to hear them. So anyway, great effort, and again, our cheerleaders don't often get recognized as much as they should, but they're always there. They're always doing the job and keeping things spirited in our athletic gyms and fields and everywhere else. And we're just really appreciative of what they do, and the fact that they can get a basketball out of the goal is pretty awesome.
They didn't have to be asked. They were
They
there. We
just
can do
did
that.
it.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what we do.
Good stuff. Okay. And just some updates on the renovation. I will say that our friends at R.L. Turner have been working 6 and 7 days a week to try to get everything ready to go. We are a little bit delayed. Again, the holidays kind of really, put a little bit of a damper on some of the progress, particularly in the plumbing world. However, we are in really great shape. This is the new middle school teachers lounge, and there will be some casework that's going to be installed in there the next week. And the perimeter classrooms, the ones that we didn't touch this last summer, they're actually going to be finished ahead of time, which is good, so we can get everybody moved back into those rooms. These are primarily rooms for our special needs students, so we want to be able to get them back to where they're used to being as quickly as possible. They did have a timeline of early February, but it sounds like it's going to be the end of this month, which is good. This is basically what the area in the middle school looks like without the partition walls in. Again, it's it's a gigantic space. And so what's going to be happening here in the next few weeks is they're going to be putting up the metal studs and also some of the doorways. So these rooms will start to take shape. Right now, Lehman's is in running all of the HVAC. So that's moving along. It's going very well. Again, just really pleased with the progress in that area. We're super appreciative of everybody who's been patient with the locker rooms and the renovations in those areas. I guarantee it'll be worth it. The people that I've walked through those areas with are like, oh my gosh, they're so nice. And Mr. Ayers took a couple of our girls into the girls' locker room, and they're like, oh my gosh, this is so nice. If you'd been in the old girls' locker room, this is a huge step up. So anyway, very pleased on how that's going. This is the athletic locker room for the boys. PE locker room and visitor locker room for the boys. This is the /PE office / officials changing area. So this is where obviously our PE teacher will have his office, but when he's not using it, and of course after hours, it'll be for the officials changing. There's a shower. They don't have the partitions yet up, but obviously a bathroom shower area for officials. And again, we want to take good care of the officials. They, we want them to be happy to come to Tipton. This is the girls' PE locker room. Again, very similar to what the boys have as far as configuration. I'm very pleased with that. And then this is the athletic. I'm sorry, this should be the. This is the athletic locker room. Sorry. The athletic locker room with the large lockers, and then the bathroom area with the shower area as well. This is a new addition. It's the hospitality room and also kind of a team meeting room. So there's casework in there. There'll be a refrigerator in, obviously running water. There'll be some graphics on the walls, so it just won't be gray walls. Coming together very nicely. I think that will be a very nice space for us. And looking at turning it over, everything as far as the locker rooms and the hospitality area on the 19th. So they're doing their punch list that day, and they're actually paying our custodians overtime to come in and clean the space. And they'll do their punch list with a nice clean area to make sure nothing's missed, and then it'll be ready to go. So everything will have a thorough cleaning, and what we'd really love to do, and Mr. Harris and I have talked, is just maybe try to do an open house, particularly since the boys' season, and they kind of missed this opportunity, and again with with the girls being able to, with them going full steam ahead, it'll be nice to show that off. So just kind of be watchful for an invitation to just come check it out. That's all I've got.
Great, thank you so much. Okay, next we will hear a financial report from Brooke.
For December, we ended the month in the education fund with $676,429. Debt service, $243,873. Correction to the operations fund, that's $1,287,092. And rainy day was restored back to the $2,253,080. And then the calendar year transfers from education to operations totaled $650,000. And as Dr. Glaze mentioned, we closed those bonds on December 28th and then restored the funds back to the 2023 GO bond and rainy day that fronted those construction negatives.
Yeah, thank you for all your work on that. Appreciate it. Okay, moving on to, we have some old business for tonight. Are we doing anything with the No, they're just in your packet.
If you have any questions about.
Yeah.
our-
Did anyone?
We got Adam.
Okay, some old business that we have is the approval of the revised 1003 waiver. It's been updated with the language required by the Indiana Department of Education. They made some changes to the waiver application this year, and this was one of those. We previously approved this waiver at our December 12th meeting, but tonight we need to approve the revised 1003 waiver. I need a motion and a second to approve that.
I move to approve the revised 1003 waiver.
Second that.
Are there any questions, comments? Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, thank you. Okay, moving on to some new business. We're going to approve the Early Literacy Achievement Grant that we discussed in our work session. We must approve the resolution and distribution list of teachers and staff eligible for the Early Literacy Achievement Grant. A resolution and distribution list was included in our packet. It's recommended the distribution list and resolution be approved as written. Can I have a motion and a second?
Make a motion to approve the resolution and distribution list as written in our packet.
Second.
Are there any questions or comments? Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, thank you. Next, we need to consider, we just need to approve the mileage rate reimbursement for 2024. As of January 1st, the federal mileage rate reimbursement increased 1.5 cents to 0.67 cents per mile. This is the rate the corporation employees can use to reimburse travel related to professional development and meetings not held on the community school corporation campus. The recommendation before you is to increase that mileage rate. I need a motion and a second.
Second that.
Are there any questions? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Okay, next, we have to approve the conflict of interest disclosures. Indiana Code 35-44-1-1-4 requires the Board of School Trustees annually sign, approve, and submit the Uniform Conflict of Interest Disclosure Statement. It is recommended the Board of School Trustees approve the Uniform Conflict of Interest Disclosure. Statements will be completed by each of us as board members. Need a motion and a second to approve those.
I move to approve the conflict of interest disclosures.
Are there any questions or comments? Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, thank you. Just next are other matters to come before the board. First, you'll see included in our packet are the advisory committees. We've reduced the number of advisory committees and board member assignments to each committee. If you want to be anywhere else, just let Dr. Glaze know. We're trying to have a maximum of about 3 board members, or we have to have a maximum of 3 board members per committee. So that was included in our packet. Are there any questions about those? Okay. Does anyone else have any other matters to come before the board? Okay, lastly, just a couple of heads up on schedule of events. On January 15th, this coming Monday, we don't have any school for Martin Luther King Day. Also, the corporation administrators will be working with Jim Halleck on that day. On January 22nd, the Facilities and Technology Committee will be meeting. On February 5th, we will have a professional development day and students will not attend on that day. February 13th is our monthly board meeting, and February 19th is President's Day. Students will be here. It's a makeup day for earlier this year.
I will say on that, advisory, we're going to talk about MacBooks. That's kind of a hot topic, so just making all of that. And Steve and I talked through a little bit, what's your input, how we might transition.
Thank you. Okay, at this time, I need a motion and a second to adjourn the meeting.
second.
Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, thank you for attending our meeting this evening.
Thank you for.
Oh, yes, that's great. That's good.